Hi guys, what's up? It's Will here once again for some fight predictions. We're here for UFC Noche. Alexa Grasso against Valentina Shevchenko is our main event from the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. Rematch of a pretty big shock that went down where Grasso dethroned the champion, the dominant champion in Valentina Shevchenko, and they're doing it back up again and jumping straight in there on the Mexican, I think it's Mexican Independence Day. This card's had a lot of changes throughout the last couple of weeks. A lot of fighters fell out. Matchups have been changing up a little bit. But overall, I think this is actually a really entertaining card. Some cards don't really jump out at me. This is one I think there could be a couple of shocks, but there could also be a lot of fights in this one where the chalk maybe comes through. But we're going to get straight into it, and this is one that I think this is fairly straightforward. I'd be surprised if the underdog came through here. We've got Josefine Knutson against Manik Man. This is one where I think that Josefine should absolutely really wreck Manik Man in kind of any situation that arises here. The one thing that I will say for Manik is she's a very tough girl, not overly superly talented, but she's very tough. She comes forward, she looks to put it on you. But I just think she's going to be a little bit outclassed here. Josefine Thunder Knutson is a girl that I've known about for years. I actually said to some friends, I think you should keep an eye on this girl. I think she's got the potential to be fairly decent and will make her way to the UFC. She fought recently in the Dana White Contender Show, where literally 3 weeks ago she beat Isis Verbeek very dominantly there, but was the only one I think on the show to not get a call-up, get a contract there. She was supposed to fight Jasmine Lucindo, which I thought was going to be a good fight. I was on the Lucindo side there. I thought it was a little bit too kind of early for maybe Knutson to be facing someone who in Lucindo, who I think is a young, talented prospect in the division. And like I say, the kind of one time that kind of jumps out for seeing Manik Man is this L here, which she took just about a year ago to Bruno Brazil, where she was really getting outclassed with the movement, the kind of footwork. Was kind of getting mesmerized by some of the shots and then caught a head kick. Josefine Knutson, I think, can beat her in many aspects of this one. I think her kickboxing's far better. She's more cleaner. I think she can get her in the clinch, beat her up a little bit. So I think a late stoppage could be in action. For me, I am going to take Josefine Knutson to win this fight by probably a decision, I think, in that one. Charlie Campbell against Alex Reyes. There's another one that's kind of this guy. Like I said, I've only listened to a couple of podcasts this week. And like I said, I totally forgot about this guy. I didn't realize he was like not fought in 6 years, which is kind of crazy. And when you look at the kind of Charlie Campbell side of things, he's had his whole entire MMA career in that span that Reyes has been away. I've seen that Alex Reyes was having stem cell in to try and get himself better, to get himself back. The only time we've seen him in the UFC was a kind of short notice coming in here against Mike Perry and got blasted out of there. Charlie Campbell's a guy that the fights that I have watched, been very, very entertaining. And took this L here to Chris Duncan, Scottish dude, but was really giving it his all in that fight and was landing big shots and nearly got Duncan out of there. He just walked onto a shot, hit him on the button, knocked him out, went back out there, got a win just a couple of months ago there, got himself his call up to the UFC on short notice, albeit. I think that he is going to absolutely rip through Alex Reyes here. Now, I know he's been away for, 6-7 years or whatever it may be. He may have made some great improvements in that time. I just don't see it. It's like, I think he's 36, 37, nearly 37. I mean, taking 6 years off in this game nowadays, where guys are having their whole careers in that time, is it's kind of crazy. So I'm going to take Charlie Campbell. I think he absolutely wrecks Alex Reyes and gets him out of there inside a couple of rounds. Maybe a little interesting if he goes for it a little too hard, doesn't get the finish, and then maybe Reyes comes into it, but I just don't see it. Charlie Campbell will be a knockout for me. This is an interesting fight, one that I've kind of been going back and forward on a little bit. Tracy Cortez against Jasmine Jasudavicius. When Jasudavicius came into the UFC, I wasn't overly hopeful of her kind of tenure in the UFC. I didn't think she would kind of stick around all that much and be kind of predominant in it. But recently, she has shown since that, she beat Key Hansen in her debut, which was not a big big W in any aspect, but I think there was a lot of people counting against her there. Then she got Natalia Silva. Silva's turned out to be a really good quality prospect. I bet on her in this fight here. She was an underdog. I thought she shouldn't have been there. Cashed that there. And then Miranda Maverick, I think she looked her best she has in her whole entire career there, really using her strength, her wrestling, her length, her just her size in that one. Predominantly, she likes to kind of tie people up, get some takedowns. I don't think she's going to do that with Tracy Cortez here. I think Tracy is one of the best wrestlers, women's wrestlers we have in the sport. Very heavy hips. Her inactivity is a little bit of a kind of thing that kind of stands out to me, like a 10-1 record. She's been in the UFC for nearly 4 years and only really has 4 fights. So that's not the greatest look, but they are wins. Melissa Gart, I think, is a really good win. Quiche, Stephanie Edgar, and Vanessa Mello there. So I'm a little bit interested to kind of. I have been going back and forth on this for the simple reason that I think my initial lean was on the Cortez side, but when I've watched Jasudavicius last couple of fights, I think that she's really gained in confidence. Fighting at home last time in Canada, getting that big win was, I think, huge for her. I'm just trying to think where she really beats Cortez handily. Could it be with the striking? Possibly, but I think she's very predictable with her striking. I think it's not fast. I don't think she's overly powerful, but she's very, very game. Where I think that Tracy could get some takedowns, have some top time. She needs to do something when she's on top. She can't like literally get down there and just be heavy and have position and no kind of ground strikes. So I'm going to lean Tracy Cortez in this one. I'm going to go with my gut feeling in that one. I think she wins via a decision in that one there. Edgar Chairez against Daniel Lacerda. I wanted to come into this fight because we've all seen this here in the space of just under 2 years, 4 L's. You usually don't stick around the UFC for that. I wanted to come in here and be kind of confident in Edgar Chairez, and I really am not overly confident in what I see there, but I can see why he's lined a favourite, minus 225. I think he's actually higher than that now because Lacerda over here in the UK is like plus 220. So for me, I think this is a better matchup for Lacerda than the ones he's previously had, because when I watched Edgar, he's very, very tough. He's shown in a couple of fights that he can land some good strikes. He can be in some decent positions and can show some decent things. I don't think his volume's high. I don't think he's got a lot of output. I think that he is hittable. For me, this is all about the pacing of Lacerda. I mean, he's getting an opportunity here. This is do or die on his UFC contract. He's not coming back if he loses this one, even though he gives this exciting fight, and it wouldn't surprise me if this is another one. I think if he paces himself and doesn't go balls to the wall, just really steady himself in that first round, I think he can win on output. I think he can land the more damaging strikes. And then Chairez is going to have to try and push it a little bit more, and it might kind of work into the advantage of Lacerda, where he can maybe land that big knee or something. But he has to pace himself, because if he starts the gas out here, I think Chairez will run away with the decision. I think this is a decent fight for Lacerda to come out here and have the opportunity to win. So I'm gonna edge on the Lacerda side. I think he finally gets it done in the UFC. But it's hard to be super confident. Now I am thinking of a bet on Lacerda, but honestly, the bet that I'm kind of looking at as well is the over 1.5. I think it's plus 175. That's something that I may like. So I may take a 1 unit shot on Lacerda and maybe put that with the over 1.5, because I still think that it can get to there fairly decently. And then at least I cover myself if Lacerda doesn't win. I still kind of come out with profit in that one. So I'm going to go Lacerda. I'm going to take a shot on an underdog there. I think I've got him to win that fight in that one there. Roman Kopylov against Josh Fremd. Now, this is one, if you watched my videos years ago, I was very high on Roman Kopylov when he came into UFC, and he really showed nothing early on. I thought he was gonna do okay. I think, was it Juraev was his first fight? I think it was. No, was it Robertson? Either way, I thought he was going to be something, and now he's finally, I think, starting to show it. Now, where I started to really come around, I was in Paris and I was watching him against Alessio Di Chirico, and I was watching that fight, and I was saying to a friend beside me, it's like he's coming into this fight and he's starting to gain some confidence. You can see it with some of the beautiful kicks that he has, the attacks to the body, and his combination striking. And he was starting to kind of pick away at Shevchenko, and eventually got that stoppage. I think it was round number 3. And since then, he's really went from strength to strength. Puna Soriano, Claudio Ribeiro, he's shown a lot of like really sound, solid striking. His takedown defense has got a little bit better from what we previously saw, and it looks like he has really started to excel in his game, and he's starting to look very, very dangerous. And I think this is a really good matchup for him. Now, when Josh Fremd shows up, I think he can be a handful because he's a big dude. If I don't 6'4", he's going to have a massive. He's only got a 1-inch reach advantage. For some reason, I thought he had a bigger reach advantage than that. But I mean, he came in here, Fluffy Hernandez, decent. Now Tracy Gore got caught in that choke. That was a big, big choke, a horrible choke to get caught in. Looked great there against Dukas Dumas. He was a big underdog there. I think a plus 190 I got him at. Loved that spot from. And then in this fight, literally a month ago, I think he missed weight in this one. Didn't look good, looked very sluggish. Didn't look good against Jamie Pickett. He has to come in here, and I think this is the reason he's maybe jumped back in so soon, is to try and prove to the UFC that wasn't the kind of real Josh Fremd last time. Because I do think he's a dangerous guy. But for me, I'm kind of all in on Roman Kopylov right now. He looks serious. He looks like he's got his stuff in order. Is really plowing forward. The strikes that he's landing are landing with venom, hurting guys, and really just putting them through the ringer. And I think if Josh Fremd can't simulate a takedown game here and get him to the ground, I think he is absolutely in big trouble. And I've laid a big bet down on Roman Kopylov. Now, the way I've been betting since April, you look at my record, it's not been great. You might be good taking the kind of plus 300 because this line here, it's saying minus 260. I bet him minus 250. He's now minus 400 plus at least over here in the UK. So you're getting at least plus 300, plus 310 on the Fremd side if you think that he can make this dirty and land some takedowns and really win the fight through that. For me, I think Kopylov's in the prime right now where I wouldn't be standing in front of this guy. I've got Roman Kopylov. I think he knocks out Josh Fremd in the middle part of this fight. Loopy Godinez against Elise Reed. I'm going to go with Lupita Godinez. The only thing I'm a little bit kind of worried about is the fact that Loopy can sometimes... I think she's got obviously a definitive wrestling advantage. Sometimes she likes to show off her striking. And I think she can be very competitive with Elise Reed in that aspect. But go to your wrestling because it's super dominant, and Elise Reed is showing she's got bad takedown defense. She's got not the greatest sub defense, so you can get her L's in the UFC or finishes. Loma look Bunmi, like if Loma's submitting you, this girl Lopi can come out here and submit her. Sam Hughes got her from the mount, but she's coming off a win over Jinyu Fry. I think Loopy gets takedowns. I think she can get to a top position, and I think she can find a submission from there. So Loopy Godinez is going to be my pick in that one there. Fernando Padilla against Kyle Nelson. I think this line's a little off. I'm still wanting to look in a little bit more about Padilla. I want to see a little bit more of him in the UFC. That's a great win against Julian Erosa because Julian's got some decent names on his record, his resume. But we all know he's very, very chinny, and if you hit him with a big enough shot, you can put him down. So I want to see a little bit more. Kyle Nelson, I honestly thought he would be in his kind of way out the UFC. I thought when he was taking these L's a couple of years ago, albeit to Billy Quarantino and Jai Herbert, I thought he was probably close to being his way out. Got that draw against the Korean Superboy, and then got that big win as an underdog against Blake Builder. Very tough guy, comes out hard, can land some big shots, but I think he can have a little bit of success. But I do think he needs to throw a little bit more of this. If you look at his average strikes statistics through fights, he's not got the biggest output. And I don't think that's really going to work against Padilla here. So, like I said, I do think the line is off. I don't really want to take a shot on Kyle Nelson. I think Padilla, he has fought some fairly decent guys out there in the regional scene. And then this, like I said, that's a big, big win there. Spike Carlisle's like an odd guy to fight as well. But I am going to lean on the Padilla side, but he's a guy that I'm not super confident in this week, but I probably haven't watched enough of him to really garner a decent opinion. So I'm ready to kind of see a little bit more of him against a glorified UFC vet now and a tough guy to face in Kyle Nelson. But I'll lean Padilla on that one there. Daniel Zellhuber against Christos Giagos. Giagos, I've always found Giagos a really tough guy to really, I don't want to say cap, but I think he's got a lot of things there that can cause problems. I like the fact that he's went to Florida now at Killcliff, got some really good coaching there. He's a guy that I think flew around a little bit in the California kind of gyms and moved around there. Now he's really his stamp down in Florida. And that was a big win against Ricky Glenn. Big left hook, landed early, landed clean, put him out. I mean, his L's in the UFC, look, Sarukian, Moises, those are ranked fighters, in my opinion. Around there, at least, top 20 guys. Sarukian's a top 5 guy, in my opinion, and could potentially be a champion one day. Where Moises is definitely a top 20 lightweight, in my opinion. Virgin in top 15. Came through a tough time with Benoit Saint-Denis recently, but I think he'll have some success initially early on. What we know is Zellhuber is that in his UFC fights, that first fight I think is a complete anomaly. He just looked awful against Trey Ogden. He couldn't pull the trigger, was letting Ogden get off on shots, and just really didn't look good. But we've seen that against Lando Venata, that he's really, really come into his game there, was landing heavy strikes, was putting it on. Lando Venata was hurting him with things. Never really liked Giagos' gas tank. I think that's a spot where maybe Zellhuber can come in here late, potentially land that kill shot and put him down. So I am leaning on the side of Daniel Zellhuber. I'm not. I've seen some people writing this guy off. I've had some people message me actually, and they're fairly confident in Giagos. Now I think Giagos is tough. He's a tough vet. A lot of fights, 30-odd fights, double the amount of fights that Zellhuber has. But I think talent comparison, I think there's a lot of talent on the side of Daniel Zellhuber. So I'm going to pick him to win this one here. Raul Rosas Jr. against Terrence Mitchell. I've never been big in this kid. I didn't like the way he was kind of mouthing off initially, but you got to remember he's a young kid, just coming up to be 19, was 17 in the UFC. Took that earlier against Christian Rodriguez, which I think a lot of people saw coming a mile away. I was one of those guys as well. Yeah, this is a fight that he should win here. Terrence Mitchell really, and I really shouldn't say he really doesn't have anything for him, because we've seen with the Strickland Adesanya fight last week that all it takes is just your night to come to fruition and you're going to have a big performance. When you look to talent for talent here, I think that the young man's is destined to go further. I think he's got some skill set issues there where he will cause issues for Terrence Mitchell. And I think the UFC know what they're doing here. They're putting this guy high up in the card here, looking to get some eyeballs on him. He's going to be a decent fighter for years to come, potentially a champion of what division, I don't know, because, like I say, he's only 19. He's going to fill out and move into the featherweight division and then maybe into the lightweight division as well. So I've got Raul Rosas to win that fight. I think he gets it done inside the first round and a half. And I'll pick him via submission in that one. Co-main event. Ooh, this is a great fight. Kevin Holland against Della Maddalena. I've always liked Kevin Holland, but just the way sometimes he talks too much, and obviously Big Mouth is his nickname, or one of his nicknames. The kid has a lot of talent. You've seen that years ago. I seen that years ago, and I used to watch this guy. A lot of talent. With some big holes in his game, but it looks like he's shored some of them up. And I like him a lot more at 170 than I did at kind of 185. I think that he's a tough style matchup at 170. And when you look at Jack Della Maddalena, I think a lot of people are looking at this fight a little bit too much. That guy is obviously a big, strong dude, Basil Hafez. Come in there. Both guys were obviously short notice for both guys. Because Jack had Sean Brady coming in and then whatever else went on. But he's getting back in here like, a couple of months back after that fight with Hafez. And Kevin Holland looked great against Mike Kayser. Got a beautiful sub, 2 months ago, beat Ponzinibbio. Really good striker, really long, got a big advantage when it comes to the reach. But when you look at that nose of Della Maddalena, that guy is down to scrap. Look at that bad boy. Absolutely looking to your right there, or your left, whatever it may be. But just that guy is down to scrap. You can see by the way his face looks that he's there. Like I said, I've never been the biggest Della Maddalena guy. I think he is very talented, and I do like some of his wins. That's nothing. Amiv, he ran through that guy, and Amiv's a kind of solid professional. Danny Roberts, chinny, but solid professional. Randy Brown really just ran through him down in Australia. And then Hafez, I think Hafez is going to be, I think he's going to win some fights in the UFC, just the way he fights himself. And when I'm trying to kind of think where this matchup is, because I think there's definitely a grappling deficiency on the side of Della Maddalena, but also he probably wasn't. I was big on Sean Brady when they were matched up. But that Hafez guy looks like he's just super strong and will bring it to you with the grappling. But on the feet, I think the more powerful guy is Della Maddalena. I think the more technique is actually on the side of Kevin Holland. I do like his overall striking game. Now, I was contemplating a bet on Jack Della when he was plus money. I thought, right, that's off. But then I looked into it, and I've kind of wrote off Kevin Holland a couple of times before. But I've started to see that he's really. I've watched some interviews, and he seems to be like taking it a little bit more serious. He's not as jokey as he once is, but that can change in an instant with Kevin Holland. We know that. So, like I said, seeing it's minus 115 now. I'm seeing minus plus 130s over here in the UK. I think the side now is Kevin Holland bet wise. I'm struggling honestly to pick this fight, a win on this fight, because I think Holland can give this guy some problems. And I'm seeing a lot of people saying, oh, he could come out here and grapple Jack Della. He's not really known for that. His submission skills are pretty legit. He's got big levers there. If he catch you with any chokes, he can get you out of there. He's got better like ground guys out of there than what Jack Della is. I'm going to lean Kevin Holland in that one. I'm not one for picking Kevin Holland all too much, but I just have a feeling with this one that he's going to get that done. This could be a massive win for him in this welterweight division and moves him on to bigger and better things. And I think Jack Della Maddalena will still be around, will still be a top 10 guy in the division, honestly, because he is very, very good in many aspects of his game. But I'm going to go Kevin Holland in that one there. Main event, Alexa Grasso, Valentina Shevchenko for the UFC Women's Flyweight Championship. Last time out, Alexa got it done. I've been a big admirer of Irene Aldana, Alexa Grasso for many years since I watched them in Invicta. Always loved the skill sets and always loved some of the fights back in the day. I always thought Alexa could have the opportunity to possibly be a contender. I actually didn't think she'd be a champion, and especially when she's dethroning someone like Valentina, who I don't want to say she's declining. I think she's just maybe these girls are catching up to your kind of higher caliber champions like Talia Santos, like Alexa Grasso. That fight I thought was very close, but I did think that Valentina was winning. I think she was up 2-1. I think she was winning that fourth round before that ill-advised spin kick, and then she got taken down. I didn't see Alexa subbing her. Honestly, that was a big thing for me, because I think that as an overall fighter, I do lean on the Valentina side for all her skills. I think she's a better wrestler. I think that's something she could use here. But I didn't expect her to get submitted. That was a weird one. But when you look at who she trains with, Diego Lopez, who's a bit of a guru on the ground, is very, very good, very dangerous. You can see why she would learn of someone like him and use that in her fights. And she did that. And she was a massive underdog there. Now she's coming in here, confidence of a champion. I think that could lift her 20-30% in her performance. Her confidence is there. Valentina, I've loved what I've heard from her this week. Like, she's literally focused on this day, getting this built back, and kind of, this is for a legacy. She's saying, this is my legacy fight. And I love hearing that. And the betting line has came down to, like, she's minus 160. And for me, I am trying so hard to, because I think this fight could be close. I do lean Valentina in a lot of aspects of the fight. I think across 25 minutes, she can have the opportunity to kind of win the more rounds than Grasso. But I think it's close. If you got on that plus 200, plus 190 of Alexa Grasso, fair play. I think that's the shot to take. But if this line continues to go down, and I would probably bet it now, but I'm still contemplating whether I want to bet this fight, because I think, like I said, I do think it's going to end up being close. I think Alexa is going to be very, very confident. I think Valentina is going to have her opportunities to win rounds. So I'm going to lean Valentina Bullet Shevchenko to retain her UFC Flyweight Championship. But honestly, if I wanted a fighter to win, it's probably Alexa Grasso, because like I said, I've been such a big fan of hers for so long, and she's shown so many improvements over the years with her overall game. It's a girl I've liked betting in the past, but I'm going to go Valentina Shevchenko for the win there. So, guys, appreciate you sticking around with me. If you have got this far in 25 minutes with me, I'll be back next week. Like I say, this was a card I had some really interest in. I don't know whether it's going to be the same thing kind of going forward, because I'm watching the Dana White Container Show and everyone seems to be getting signed. So how much I can look into them, I don't know. But like I say, really enjoyed talking about this card. Hopefully I'm not taking up too much of your time. Appreciate you if you do watch this. Until next week, guys, all the very, very best, and take care. Enjoy the